Hello, I'm Igal and this is Middle East in less than 5 minutes. Today, we are talking about the US Senator Bernie Sanders. April 6, 2026. Senator Bernie Sanders tweets, "While the world focuses on the destruction in Iran, we must not ignore what Israel is doing in Lebanon. 1,461 people have been killed, 4,430 have been injured, 1.2 million have been displaced. Israel now occupies 14% of Lebanon. Enough is enough. No more US military aid to Israel." 1.8 million views. Thousands of retweets. Then the responses starts pouring in. Dumisani, Washington. Hezbollah in Lebanon is sending missiles at Israel as you post on X. Just say you stand with Iran, Senator. Ben Green. 1,100 of those killed are Hezbollah. Bernie Sanders will never tell you this, despite Hezbollah publicizing plenty of their death notices too. Hezbollah, a jihadist death cult who have started 2 wars in 3 years, and by not mentioning them, Bernie is complicit. Nirvana Mahmoud, your numbers are incorrect. Jerry Avinaim, Bernie loves Hezbollah. Bernie loves terrorists. Bernie hates America. Don't be like Bernie. Let's examine what Bernie Sanders said and what he deliberately didn't say. The Lebanon numbers, what Sanders left out. According to researchers analyzing Hezbollah death announcements and Israeli military data, approximately 1,100 of the 1,461 Lebanese killed were Hezbollah fighters, not civilians. Hezbollah, a designated terrorist organization by the United States, European Union, Arab League, and Gulf Cooperation Council, has been firing thousands of rockets at Israeli civilian areas since October 8, 2023, the day after Hamas massacre. Israel didn't invade Lebanon unprovoked. Hezbollah attacked first. But Bernie Sanders framed it as Israel is doing in Lebanon. As if voice, no context, Hezbollah. April 6, 2026. Bernie Sanders doesn't mention Hezbollah firing rockets, Hezbollah starting the war, Hezbollah storing weapons in schools, exposed by Eyal Yacobi reporting, or Hezbollah using Lebanese civilians as human shields. He mentions only Israeli actions, only Lebanese casualties. As one Lebanese citizen put it, quoted by Gazawood account on March 18, 2026, "We are done with the lies, the political spin, and the propaganda said in our name. This war isn't Israel versus Lebanon. It's Iran's Revolutionary Guard trying to hit Israel using Lebanon as their pawn." Where was Bernie when Iran's IRGC killed its own people? January 8 to 9, 2026. Iranians protest in the street. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, Iran's terrorist military force, opened fire. Image circulates showing massive crowds. They protested. They were massacred. Khosrow Parvez tweets, "And nothing on the deaths in Iran by the terrorist IRGC?" Bernie Sanders' response? Silence. When Israel defends itself against Hezbollah, Bernie Sanders holds press conferences, introduces resolutions, demands arms embargoes. When Iran's IRGC murders protesters, Bernie Sanders says nothing. The pattern, 40 years, same playbook. Bernie Sanders has been in Congress since 1991, 35 years. He's been in elected office since 1981, 45 years. Let's review his record. Hamas, October 7, 2023. 1,200 Israelis murdered, 250 taken hostages. Systematic rape used as weapon of war, babies burned alive, music festival attendees massacred. Bernie Sanders' immediate response? Israel had an absolute right to respond to the Hamas attack, but, always but. Then he spends the next year and a half introducing multiple resolutions to block arms sales to Israel, calling Israel's actions genocide, demanding ceasefire while Hamas still holds hostages, and comparing Netanyahu to authoritarian dictators. But when did Bernie Sanders introduce a resolution condemning Hamas? Never. When did Bernie Sanders demand sanctions on Hamas supporters Qatar or Turkey? Never. When did Bernie Sanders call for cutting aid to the Palestinian Authority, which pays salaries to terrorists? The martyr payments? Never. On Hezbollah, October 8, 2023 to present, Hezbollah fires thousands of rockets at Israeli towns, forces 60,000 Israelis to evacuate northern Israel for over a year. Children can't go to school. Families live in bomb shelters. Bernie Sanders' statement about Hezbollah? Virtually nothing. But when Israel finally responds, Bernie erupts with outrage about Lebanese casualties, 80% of whom are Hezbollah fighters. On Iran's IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, a designated terrorist organization by the United States that funds Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Houthis, operates the axis of resistance, attacking Israel from 7 fronts, murdered thousands of Iranian protesters in 2019, 22 and 26, supplied Russia with drones to kill Ukrainians, plotted to assassinate American officials on US soil. Bernie Sanders introduced resolutions to block arms to Israel 6 times: September 2024, November 2024, April 2025, July 2025, and March 2026. Bernie Sanders introduced resolutions to sanction Iran's IRGC for terrorism? 0. The self-hating Jew accusation. Is Bernie Sanders a self-hating Jew? Let's be precise. Bernie Sanders is a Jew who systematically applies different standards to the Jewish state than to its enemies. When terrorists attack Israel, restrain on both sides. When Israel defends itself, disproportionate force, genocide, illegal war. When Hezbollah fires rockets at civilians, silence. When Israel strikes Hezbollah, no more military aid. When IRGC murders Iranian protesters, silence. When Israel strikes Iranian nuclear facilities, illegal, unconstitutional war, unraveling international law. This isn't about disagreeing with Israeli policy. This is about a moral framework that holds Israel, and only Israel, accountable while excusing or ignoring the terrorism against it. As one ex-user, Dr. KRB, wrote, "You must be the second worst worthless Jewish person since Judas. What the actual fuck is wrong with you?" He hates his ancestors almost as much as he hates your freedom. Harsh? Yes. Anti-Semitic? No. It's pointing out that Bernie Sanders, who is Jewish, applies a standard to Israel he applies to no other nation. The genocide lie. September 17, 2025. Bernie Sanders becomes the first US senator to accuse Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. His evidence? Citing UN reports and statements by Israeli officials. Let's fact-check. UN Commission of Inquiry, dominated by members with documented anti-Israeli bias. UN Watch has exposed multiple COI members for anti-Semitic statements. Israeli official statements. Sanders cites out-of-context quotes. When Israeli ministers speak in anger about Hamas, the terrorist organization, Sanders presented as genocide against Palestinians, the civilians Hamas uses as shields. The actual numbers. According to Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, unverified, about 43,800 killed in Gaza by November 2024. According to Israeli intelligence and intelligent analysis, roughly 50% combatants, 50% civilians, a ratio better than most urban warfare in history. By comparison, Mosul, ISIS defeat, 2016 to 2017. 40,000 civilians killed, 11,000 ISIS fighters. Ratio 4:1 civilians to combatants. Raqqa, ISIS defeat 2017. Similar ratio. Battle of Manila, World War II, 1945. 100,000 Filipino civilians killed. Gaza ratio approximately 1:1. Intense urban combat against an enemy using human shields operating from hospitals, schools, mosques, and UN facilities. Genocide? The legal definition under the Genocide Convention requires intent to destroy a group. Israel warns civilians before strikes, operates humanitarian corridors, provides medical care to wounded Gazans in Israeli hospitals, and continues allowing humanitarian aid. Hamas intent on October 7, explicitly genocidal. Kill all Jews in their charter. Live-streamed murder, rape, and kidnapping, celebrated in Gaza streets. Bernie Sanders called Israeli defensive war genocide. He has never called Hamas massacre genocidal. The hypocrisy on Iran. February 28, 2026, Bernie Sanders released a statement. President Trump, along with his right-wing extremist Israeli ally Benjamin Netanyahu, has begun an illegal, premeditated, and unconstitutional war against Iran. March 2026, Bernie introduces 3 joint resolutions of disapproval to block $658.8 million in arms sales to Israel, citing illegal war with Iran. Let's review what's actually happened. For decades, Iran's regime calls for Israel's destruction, death to Israel official government slogan, funds 7 terrorist proxies attacking Israel, builds nuclear weapons in violation of international agreements, enriches uranium to near weapon grade, orders its own citizens who protest, hangs LGBTQ individuals, forces women to cover or face imprisonment or death. October 7, 2023, Hamas, an Iranian proxy, murders 1,200 Israelis. October 8, 2023, Hezbollah, an Iranian proxy, begins rocket attack on Israel. November 2023 to present, Houthis, an Iranian proxy, attack international shipping and US Navy vessels. Iran directly attacked Israel with ballistic missiles in April 2024, October 2024, and February 2026. Israel and US respond with strike on Iranian nuclear facilities and IRGC targets. Bernie Sanders' reaction? Illegal war, unraveling international law, unconstitutional. But when Iran attacks Israel, I strongly condemn Iran's attack. Facebook post, brief. Then immediately pivots to demanding Israel exercise restraint. Translation: Iran can attack, Israel cannot respond. What has Bernie actually accomplished? Bernie Sanders, 45 years in office, 1981 to 2026. Legislative accomplishments: 7 bills passed that he sponsored, mostly renaming post offices. 0 major legislation. Never held executive position. Never managed large organization. Never created jobs in private sector. But his activism? Honeymoon in Soviet Union in 1988. Praised Fidel Castro's literacy programs, ignoring Castro's executions, political prisoners, and totalitarianism. Opposed Iraq War in 2003, which was a fair criticism. Post-Afghanistan war, but also opposed military action against Al-Qaeda after 9/11. Calls for massive government expansion, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, free college cost estimates in tens of trillions. Tax increases on middle class required to fund proposals, despite claiming only billionaires pay. On Middle East, consistently sided with Israel's enemies, opposed aid to Israel more than any other senator. Never visited Israel as senator until 2016, after 25 years in Congress. Refuses to visit again. Employs staff members who have endorsed BDS, praised Hezbollah, spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. The ultimate question: why does Bernie Sanders obsess with Israeli casualties in Lebanon, 80% Hezbollah terrorists, while ignoring the IRGC murdering Iranian protesters, Hezbollah firing thousands of rockets at Israeli civilians, Hamas using Palestinian children as human shields, Houthis attacking international shipping, Assad, Iran ally, using chemical weapons on Syrians, 500,000 dead, China's Uyghur genocide, Russia's war on Ukraine before pivoting to support Ukraine aid. Because Bernie Sanders doesn't actually care about civilian casualties. He cares about opposing Israel. And after 40+ years, the pattern is undeniable. If you find this episode helped you see the world differently, to understand something that bothered you, follow the podcast, rate it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen to it, and share it with your friends. Help spread the word. Thank you. I'm Igal, and this was Middle East in less than 5 minutes. Until next time, Shalom.